Good evening or good morning to wherever you are. Welcome to this important instructional video about a very important technique when it comes to trading card games. This technique is flicking your cards. Now before we begin, we want to ask, why do we want to flick our cards? Sometimes your opponents just take too long and you don't know what to do, you're bored, or you need a way to distract them. And there's just a very satisfying feel about how your cards flick. Just listen for a moment. Now, of course, you don't have to do this just during your opponent's turn. You can do it during your own as well. It's kind of useful for thinking through your lines of play. Perhaps you're going to see a different line of play because your cards are suddenly in a different order that they weren't before. A very important skill to have in trading card games. Let's begin, shall we? So first, we have 4 Pokemon cards here. We have 2 Sylveon VMAX. We have 2 Ultra Balls. Now, of course, you can use any trading card game with this. Just use whatever's handy, what's near you. I just wanted 2 copies of 2 different cards so we can kind of see how it affects the hand in this process. So now let's start with the first kind of flick, which is the fighting game select flick, I like to call it. As you kind of shuffle through all the different options in your hand. As you can see, we're not actually changing the order here, but it does feel really good, especially that last final click. Let's do it just a few more times, shall we? Cool. So let's explain what's happening here. We start off with all 4 cards in my left hand, mainly because I hold my hand in my left hand when I play trading card games. I am right-handed. We'll be using our thumb, once we have the grip on the cards here, to slide off the top one, and the rest of them will remain in my right hand here. 3 cards. From there, we're just going to be using the thumb to slide off the card like so, with the final card getting a flick from your forefinger on your right hand. This is the most common one that you often see. You can mix it up a little bit by not grabbing all the cards. Now they're in a different order. You can do it again. You can get this card. You can just do it with 2 cards if you want. It's useful when you want to keep 2 cards together because you know you're going to use them or not use them. Just keep them separated and then you're deciding between the other 2. Which Ultra Ball do you want to use today? Which one looks particularly more shiny? Who knows? Now the next most common one that I'll do is kind of a similar thing, but I'll flourish it a bit more by pulling the whole pile out from behind it. Rather than my left hand pulling the cards off the top, my right hand's doing all the work. It's almost similar, but it's just a little bit more flourishy. Almost the same. Almost. Yeah. It just makes you look a little bit extra, and that's what we kind of want in our lives. Now, another thing you can do is if you're certain about these 2 cards on the outside, let's say these 2, you can just shuffle the middle ones, and this uses both hands kind of as a way to pull. What's happening here, if we just turn it around, is that your middle finger, I suppose, is grabbing the second card here, and pulling it behind, and then pushing it forward, in a kind of alternating manner like so. It's probably easier if we show it with different cards here so you can see that they are actually switching, while the 2 on the outside aren't. All of these are fairly effective ways of reorganizing your hand, helping you think of different lines, and distracting your opponent first and foremost. Now, there's other things you can do as well, like one of the things I like to do is grab the middle piles, and then similar to the top one, but you're kind of covering the card with your right-hand side. Now, this doesn't really achieve any strategic purpose. It doesn't really have any sort of, satisfying flick to it. But it does kind of feel nice. This is kind of what I'll do when I'm idling almost and thinking through lines in my head without needing to look at my cards. That's right. This is going to be one take. I'm really sorry. I don't have any editing software. My laptop has no sound. Furthermore, from that, if you just really want to show your hand shuffling prowess, you can do an over-the-top kind of shuffle. You'll see this in anime such as Yu-Gi-Oh! When they shuffle decks, but we're doing it with a small amount of cards of 4. This is very much an intimidation tactic. You can look your opponent dead in the eyes, just show them that you don't need to look at the cards in your hand. You already know what you're going to do. You've got it all mapped out. Everything's going according to plan. Yeah, intimidation. That's what we're here for here. This doesn't serve any purpose other than to purely show off that your hands are dexterous. Important skill. The final thing people will do when thinking, after doing all this kind of stuff, is just flicking the cards on the side. Now this does nothing to shuffle your hand whatsoever. It won't reveal any sort of lines. But it is hella frustrating for your opponent to hear this constantly. So that's my very basic quick tutorial about flicking the cards in your hand. If you have any other suggestions or any other ways that you flick the cards in your hand, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.